a question, please point out to me through that entire conversation before that PDS ration shop, if there was anything objectionable, unparliamentary, discourteous language that I've used. So as a people's representative, if I ask a question to an administrator, and if he is unable to give me an answer, I even went to the extent of saying, oh, you don't have an answer now? Maybe after half an hour you can give me. I said that also. Now if after that, somebody, whoever be it, minister, MP, MLA, whoever be it, media, if you think that wasn't right, you have every right to your opinion. But I think, as a people's representative, I have every business to ask and seek an answer. If my language was objectionable, you have every business to comment. But I think I have not crossed any limits of parliamentary language, discourteous language, none of that. So where is the objection?
Madam, the 15th Finance Commission has said, I'm Rahul from the Hindu. The 15th Finance Commission has clearly recommended to the Government of India to revisit the FRTM Act. After all, the Act is 20 years old.
The 15th Finance Commission
has recommended to Government of India to revisit the FRTM Act. It's almost 20 years old now. I am asking this question in the background of the treatment poses of our Chief Minister that the limit of FRTM has not been raised for the government, state government to raise additional rules. What is your stand on that?
15th Finance Commission recommends. During COVID, because of the contingency, which was the arising out of the pandemic and the lockdown, the borrowing limits of the states were increased from 3% to almost up to 5%. Some with, a few of them with some conditions which were with an objective of getting reforms through. So the conditions were not indiscreet, they were very clearly aimed at achieving some of the objectives of reform. So the central government, at the time of the lockdown, post the lockdown, because of COVID, understood and in consultation with the states, increased the borrowing limit. So we have responded where there is a need for increasing the borrowing limits.
I have two questions. First one is for the purpose of tax.
Very good.
Yeah, this until from Antilia. For the purpose of taxation, it may be central, state, or local. Isn't that the taxes are paid by Karnataka, Telangana, Andhra, or India? Number two. Sorry.
What did he say? Karnataka, it's Andhra, it's or Indians.
What is the rule for this? Second one, there are lots of illegalities taking place in the case of fintech companies. They are violating IRDA rules, they are circumventing RBI rules and holding deposits. And why is that illegal?
What companies did you put as a word adjective?
Fintech companies.
Fintech companies.
Aggregators, apps, whatever. Why is that no one is taking?
That they are collecting deposits.
Yeah.
You done?
Yeah.
I think you've answered your question yourself by saying, is it paid by Andhrites, is it paid by Kannadigas, is it paid by Indians? You have the answer embedded in your question itself. So it's worrying that sometimes when people want to rake up regionalism and question as though the center is an alien and the states are the ones which are going to have to ask such questions. You've answered your question, but I've just elaborated. On the fintech companies collecting deposits, which probably go against the law, there should be somebody flagging it. And if it's flagged, I can work with the Reserve Bank and ensure that it doesn't happen. Wrongdoings can be contained.
Brigadier earlier today had been saying for every rupee that Telangana contributes to the central government, they receive only 46 cents. How do you cover it?
I think I've answered that several times and I repeat it. If every individual or state starts saying, I paid so much, so give me that much back, taxation principle doesn't work on that ground. That is why I quoted the example of Hyderabad and Hyderabad district. Will you then say everything that comes from Hyderabad district will have to be spent only in Hyderabad? Will you not use it to other parts of the state? This is a very regressive way of handling issues between center and state. This is a very regressive way. Then many other states equally, which are better probably in terms of the quantum of revenue that they contribute to the central kitty, I can ask no. It doesn't work that way. And he knows it, I'm sure everybody knows it. It's good for rhetoric, it's good for media, it's good because it keeps the temperature hot and higher, but it is not, I think it's disingenuous, if anything.
Suggesting that there should be somebody who has the power to control the and independence of so they are suggesting that somebody is there.
So the planning commission earlier, according to them, therefore, was controlling their expenditure and that was okay for them. But whereas under the constitution, there is an act which tells the government of India expenditure department should have an oversight over the state's expenditure, that's objectionable. So what is provided by constitution is objectionable. Whereas what the planning commission, which at that time was not even constitutionally provided, it wasn't even statutorily provided. That is acceptable. So please, let's do some homework on it. I want to learn more on this. A constitutional provision for the central government expenditure department to make sure that the borrowings of the states are also taken into consideration to understand where the debt to GDP ratio will be is objectionable, whereas you want a body which was not even a constitutionally provided body to govern and say that is acceptable. So I'm surprised at this. No arguments here. If you are voicing your view, I'll take it. Then. Yes. Yes. Right. Absolutely. I should have come out long back. 40,000 becoming 1,40,000. I'm sure it should have come out long time back. I agree.
Yeah, ma'am, one question. When the GDP growth in the first quarter was 13.5%, you see similar double-digit growth for that time.
Well, I'll hope for. We'll work for it. And I'm also taking into consideration the facts that economies which were far developed than India, economies which are comparable with India like the other emerging markets, and I'm not deriding anybody, but the reality is, at a time when multilateral institutions, whether they are World Bank, IMF or any others, who are looking at global economy, are clearly saying that many of these countries are on the verge of recession if they are already not in it. And, sorry, and there are economies which are at a high risk of recession. Some of them 85%, some of them 15-16%. And the report also very clearly says that India is not on the verge of a recession at all. So, if we are not on the verge of recession, I'll just read out the numbers so that you know what I'm talking about. This is a Bloomberg report. It says I'm starting from the highest, not by the size of the economy. Sri Lanka has 85% probability for getting into recession. New Zealand 33%, South Korea 25%, Japan 25%, China 20%, Hong Kong 20%, Australia 20%, Taiwan 20%, Pakistan 20%, Malaysia 13%, Vietnam 10%, Thailand 10%, Philippines 8%, Indonesia 3%, India 0%. Bloomberg report. So if we are not on the verge of recession, it also gives me the confidence that if we are constantly responsive in terms of the sections which need hand-holding, in terms of the boost that we have to give the economy, we will keep going on that route. And therefore, the Q1 growth, which some argue saying it's on a low base, but low base of last year, Q1 over 2020 when there was a lockdown also was low base. So it's all right, whatever be it. Compared to the economies that we are talking about, we are still on a very sound wicket. We are literally the fastest growing economy. The number, whether it is 7.8, 7.5, 7.4, all that is later when it comes. But we will be continuing to go in that strength. I think the people of India have really understood that they are coming out and spurring the economy, and I'm really grateful that they're coming out of the COVID distress.
Just let me ask a
తెలంగాణ మీద నిర్లక్ష్యంగా వ్యవహరిస్తుంది బీజేపీ కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వానికి విభజన చట్టంలో పొందుపరిచిన హామీలను అమలు చేయడం దగ్గర నుండి రాష్ట్రానికి రావాల్సిన ట్యాక్సుల విషయాల్లో కూడా ఒక రకంగా నిర్లక్ష్యంగా ఉంటుంది దీంట్లో వాస్తవం ఉన్నదా?
1% కూడా వాస్తవం లేదు. నేను ఖచ్చితంగా చెప్తాను. ఈ అబ్స్ట్రాక్ట్ గా నిర్లక్ష్యంగా ఉన్నారు, మాకు ఏం చేయట్లేదు, మాకు ట్యాక్స్ ఇవ్వట్లేదు. ఇప్పుడు ట్యాక్స్ గురించి వారు అడిగిన దానికి నేను చెప్పాను, ఫార్ములా ఫినాన్స్ కమిషన్ ఇస్తుంది. ఎవ్రీ మంత్ ట్యాక్స్ డెవల్యూషన్ ఆ ఫినాన్స్ కమిషన్ ఇచ్చిన అదే ఫార్ములా మేరకి మేము ఇస్తూ పోవాలి. అది ఇవాళ వరకు అప్ టు డేట్ గా ఉన్నాం. అది మాత్రం కాదు, కొన్ని నేను అడ్వాన్స్ గా రాబోయిన మంత్ లో ఇవ్వాల్సినది కూడా ముందే ఇచ్చేసి, సో దట్ వాళ్ళకి చేతులు ఉండాలి, ఖర్చు పెట్టే వాళ్ళు స్టేట్స్ అని చెప్పుకుని టైంకి ఇవ్వడం మాత్రం కాదు, ముందే ఇవ్వడం కూడా జరిగింది. 4 సారి మొత్తం అట్లా చేసాం బిట్వీన్ 2021 అండ్ ఇప్పుడు. సో ట్యాక్స్ ఏ రేట్లు ఇస్తున్నాం అనేది ఫిక్స్ చేసేది మేము కాదండి, ఇట్ ఇస్ సెంట్రల్ ఫినాన్స్ కమిషన్. 1. 2, ఈ స్టేట్ కి నాకు ఇష్టంగా ఉంది, వీళ్ళకి ఎక్కువ ఇవ్వాలి, వీడికి తక్కువ ఇవ్వాలి అని చేయడానికి నాకు అక్కడ ఏ మాత్రం స్పేస్ లేదు, చెయ్యలేను. సిస్టమ్ లో బిల్డ్ అయిపోయి ఉంటుంది, అందువల్ల అది కుదరదు. రెండోది. 3వది అండి, ట్యాక్స్ సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ కలెక్ట్ చేసి, ఇది పార్లమెంట్ లో కూడా మాటమాటికి వస్తుంది. మీరు ట్యాక్స్ డివాల్వ్ చేసేది ఒకటి, అది కాకుండా నాన్ డివాల్వ్డ్ అదే సెస్ ని కలెక్ట్ చేస్తున్నారు, అది డివల్యూషన్ లో రాదు, అవన్నీ మీరే తీసుకుంటున్నారు కదా అని మళ్ళీ తెలంగాణ నుంచి కూడా ఆ మాట వస్తుంది. నేను పార్లమెంట్ లో కూడా దీనికి జవాబు చెప్తాను. ఆ కలెక్ట్ చేసే సెస్, ఊరికే చెప్తున్న ఉదాహరణకి ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సెస్, హెల్త్ సెస్, ఇలా బిల్డింగ్ రోడ్స్ ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ సెస్ కలెక్ట్ చేసేదాన్ని కూడా స్టేట్స్ కే పోతాయి. కలెక్ట్ చేసే అమౌంట్ అన్ని కూడా మీ రోడ్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ కి, మీ స్కూల్స్ కి, మీ హాస్పిటల్స్ కి, మళ్ళీ సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ కానీ ఒక్క క్షేత్రం అని ఏం లేదండి. కలెక్ట్ చేసే డబ్బు అంతా కూడా ఏ కారణానికి కలెక్ట్ చేస్తున్నామో ఆ కారణానికి ఖర్చు పెట్టాల్సిందే. నేను పార్లమెంట్ లో డేటా ఇచ్చాను, ప్రతి సెస్ కి కలెక్టెడ్ అమౌంట్ ఎంత, ఇప్పుడు వరకు ఎంత ఖర్చు పెట్టామని. 2/3 సెస్ లో కలెక్టెడ్ అమౌంట్ కంటే ఎక్కువ ఖర్చు పెట్టాం. అందువల్ల ఏ రకంగా కూడా ఈ ఆరోపణలో ఒక్క మాట కూడా నిజం లేదు.
Finance Minister says the budget debt is 89,000 for Telangana and that for the country is 1.25 lakh. Based on what you said the other day. So would you like to clarify on that? And to that, they say the debts are in the FRBM limits and there are not many loans.
Oh, I'm very glad you asked this question. I'm actually very glad that you asked me this question. It's one thing to have your debt very much under the FRBM limits. Good, and that's how it should be. There are out of the budget borrowings which you also do, and these are when your public sector undertakings under the state government or any other such who have revenue source of their own and whose board takes a call and then you go and borrow. And then that board, that company can repay it. But what is shown in the budget, which the central government also under the FRBM asks, say how much is it? Is it 4%? Is it beyond 4? Is it 5? And during COVID period, it didn't have to go beyond 5 and so on. If you borrow under the FRBM, but probably borrow as much or more outside of that, which doesn't come into the budget. It's outside of the budget. Now, both put together, you may say, why should you put together? They have taken care of by borrowing because they have a provision to borrow. They also are seeking permission and then borrowing. But many of that is beyond their capacity and it doesn't even come into your budget. You're not telling the people of Telangana or the elected representatives about that burden also getting added on here. So, in a way, we are all spending time talking about things, saying, no, it is blue, dark blue, but not light blue, but that it is blue is the discussion. And that, in a way, by getting further, deeper in this conversation, Telangana is probably accepting that they are actually beyond the limit. So it is this, but it is not that. Arey Baba, both put together, it is that. Na? Will you put together? You shouldn't put together will be the next answer. I can tell you by before the time I leave from the city, there will be one more response. There will be one more response to say, no, what is she saying? You can't add these two. I am not saying add these two, but eventually the state is getting burdened by out of the state budget borrowing as much as this. This at least is in the knowledge of the assembly, that is not.
For the out of the budget borrowings, you are already adding for the previous years. It should be retrospective instead.
I'm not getting into that debate, ma'am. We can have it separately. I'm not refusing to get. ఒక్క నిమిషం అండి, జవాబు చెప్తున్నప్పుడు నాకు అంత ఇంటెలిజెన్స్ లేదు మీ లాగా అష్టావధానం చేయడానికి. అది మెల్లగా వెళ్తా. So it's all right. We can always get into the details of this is not it, that's not it. Is she talking like this? Overall, and I quoted the former finance minister of Telangana when I said every child born in the state has now got 1.25 lakh on their head. What was the response to it? No, it's not 1.25, it is probably 110. You are admitting that you're burdening the future generation. Wo hai story. Please. No, I can't.
I just want to say, but
No, you had your turn. Please hold on. That one. ఇప్పుడు వరకు ప్రశ్న అడగలేని వాళ్ళు అడగండి. మళ్ళీ అదే. Will you please hold on? I would like somebody who's not asked a question to ask me kindly.
తెలంగాణకు బల్క్ పరిశ్రమ ఇవ్వడంలో కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వం మొండి చేయించిందని కేటీఆర్ వాళ్ళు
ఎలా మొండి చేయి చూపింది? అదే ఎలా మొండి చేయి చూపించింది ఒకసారి చెప్పండి. అదే అర్థమైంది బల్క్ ఎలా మొండి చేయి చూపించింది కొంచెం చెప్పండి. లేదే అదే కేటాయించకుండా అదే కదా మొండి చెయ్యి. ఏంటి మొండి చెయ్యి ఎలాగా? Oh, wait a minute, ma'am. Let's not mutually help each other. ఇవ్వలేదు. వేరే కాడ ఇవ్వడం వల్ల అనే మాట కరెక్ట్ కాదండి. అందరికి ఇస్తాం, అందరూ ఎవరికి వాళ్ళు ఇస్తాం. మీరు మీ టైంలో అది ఆ పర్టికులర్ ప్రాజెక్టు ఈ పర్టికులర్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ అంటే నేను కొంచెం వివరం తెప్పించుకొని మాట్లాడతాను మీతో. బట్ ఒకటి ఈ కాళేశ్వరం గురించి చెప్పారు చూడండి, దానికి కావాలంటే ఇంకొకటి విషయం తీసుకోండి. ఒక ప్రాపర్ డిపిఆర్ అంటే ఏంటి? డ్రాఫ్ట్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ రిపోర్ట్, డీటెయిల్డ్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ రిపోర్ట్ విచ్ కమ్స్ డ్రాఫ్ట్ వర్షన్ లో, అది అప్రూవ్ అయినాక అది వెళ్ళి ఫైనలైజ్ అవుతుంది. అది వాజ్ నాట్ ఈవెన్ ప్రిపేర్డ్. నేను ఆల్రెడీ 40 to 1,40,000 చెప్పాను. కాస్ట్ ఆఫ్ రన్నింగ్ ఆఫ్ ద వాటర్ పంప్స్ చాలా ఎక్కువ. ఇది సస్టైనబుల్ కాస్ట్ కూడా కాదు, ఫీజిబుల్ కూడా కాదు. ఒక ఆర్టీఐ, నేను చెప్పట్లా, ఆర్టీఐ ద్వారా తెలంగాణ గవర్నమెంట్ నుంచి వచ్చిన రిప్లై, దానికి అప్పు చెప్పారు, మేము అప్పు తీసుకుని నడుతున్నాం కదండి, మీకు ఎందుకు అభ్యంతరం అన్నారు కదా. చెప్తున్నా, అప్పు తీసుకోవడం దానివల్ల వాట్ ఇస్ ద బర్డెన్ ఆన్ ఎవ్రీ సిటిజన్ ఆఫ్ తెలంగాణ చెప్తున్నా. ఆర్టీఐ ద్వారా వచ్చిన